Good afternoon. I call the Committee on Student Life to order. We will begin with a report from the Vice Chancellor. I'll call on Vice Chancellor Denise Maybank to give her report.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chair Arvanites. The 24-25 academic year is well underway, and we've seen a lot of activity and a lot of things happening. For today's meeting, I want to share that the units of student affairs in the central office are responsible for supporting a lot of what we see on campus in terms of activity and support, and the delivery of programs and services for our 230,000 students. A part of that support comes through the allocation of funds from city and state sources. It is during this part of the academic year that most of those resources are dispersed to the campuses. And I just wanted to bring to the attention of the committee the fact that so far this year, we have dispersed $21,517,000 to campuses for student supportive services. I want to share just a few of those, to share the actual categories of those resources. So through the Black Male Initiative, BMI, we have dispersed $1.5 million in city funding, $1.4 million in state funding. For the 17 child care centers, $6.7 million in state funding and $1.5 million in city funds. For disabilities programs, the lump sum funding that comes from the state is $2.6 million and is allocated based on the number of students with disabilities and the credits that they take. The LEADS funding, which is for career development related services for students with disabilities, comes from the state at an allocation of $187,000. Our food pantries, which make a difference in the lives of so many of our families and our communities, gets dispersed to the campuses at a level of $875,000 in city funding. Foster care is a state appropriation of $4.5 million, and it helps some of our foster care students in their housing across the university residence halls. Mental health services are supported by the state at a level of $1.8 million and by the city with an allocation of $250,000. Our student veterans are supported first through our PROVE program with $25,000 in an allocation to a program at Hunter from the city, and our veteran internship program, which provides mentors to our veteran students. That comes from the city at a level of $180,000 per year. We do actually get it each year. The campuses implement the programs that are most appropriate for their students, and we see the benefit of the targeted resources for the specified populations and programs. Chairperson Arvanites, that will end my report because I have more to say later.
We will now turn to, thank you, Vice Chancellor. We'll now turn to the items requiring a vote for today. Action item 1A, the approval of the minutes for the June 3rd, 2024 meeting. I move the approval of action item 1A. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I abstain.
One abstention. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. With no items on the policy counter, we'll now move on to the informational items. Item 2A is a report by the University Student Center. I call on Student Trustee and USS Chair Salamatu Boya.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Salimatu Dumbuya. I am a senior student at the New York City College of Technology, studying architecture, and I'll be graduating in June of 2025. I'm now in my thesis year. And I have been serving as a University Student Senate chairperson since April of 2022. And my term is about to end at the end of this month in October. And in my 3 years of service, I've observed and led a growing organization, and we thought that it was important for us today to formally introduce to you on the record what the University Student Senate is and the work that we've been doing throughout the years. Okay. So the University Student Senate constitutionally is charged with advocating for the accessibility, affordability, and excellence in higher education from the student perspective. We have been founded in 1972 by Jay Hershenson, who now is a vice president at Queens College. And since then, we've had about 53 years of very intense but successful advocacy for the well-being of our students at CUNY. Throughout my time here, I started in September of 2021, which was the start of the USS electoral process. We have an entire plenary, and all the officers of USS have to be voted in by a plenary of about 80 students, 80 student leaders appointed on their local campuses by student government elections. These members are voting members and non-voting members, and they all participate in the governance process of USS. In 2021, we were just getting out of COVID, but the organization was operating remotely, and that's how we came in. I went through an election process of about 7 months because we also have our turbulences and we have to go through our own decision-making process. But I was elected in April 2022, and the organization was in pretty bad shape. For those of you who were around, let's say things how they were. USS had lost a lot of its momentum, and we had lost a lot of consideration from our different partners, whether they were university partners or our advocacy partners. In September of 2022, that same year, after 5 months of working to rebuild these relationships by having meetings and by telling to everybody USS is back and better, we finally organized our first in-person USS retreat. In 2023, we were fully back in person, and we continued our advocacy efforts. And in 2024, we pivoted to doing even more work, and that is the storyline I'll be driving you through today. So USS has been focusing over the past 3 years on helping out with university technology, participating in the process of Brightspace and other things. Procurement is a big issue for students as we work with people on student governments mostly. Infrastructure and student housing, when Brookdale had just happened, we were at the forefront of being a mediator between student affairs and students and really advocating for CUNY to consider its philosophy around student housing, academic affairs, and of course student affairs, and also campus climate. Over my time in the past 3 years, I have led and served around 200 plus students inside USS alone. Every year we get to pass a budget because we receive $1.45 for every enrolled students who pay tuition at CUNY. And over the past 2 years, the budget could be totaling around $1 million plus. That is broken down into different things like athletics, which we have to do, USS scholarship money that we cannot use, and only a certain percentage of this money can go towards our operation. I've had the honor in my role as a trustee to give 5 graduation speeches at different campuses. I've led around 23 plenary meetings, and these meetings have to be monthly, and we have to have at least 29 people in order to be able to operate. Around 30 steering committee meetings. The steering committee is a group of about 10 officers, 9 plus me, that are elected to serve the Senate and make executive decisions to make sure we execute the goals of the plenary, and around 58 board seats to fill, the students that you see on the different committees. It has been my responsibility to recommend to the board who to appoint, and over that time you can imagine that there are a lot of unique circumstances. I could count around 15 plus, including having to operate a lot of this time without a proper staff, meaning doing things on my own or having to have the help of other students. In 2022, we organized the first in-person USS student leadership retreat, straight out of the pandemic, straight out of a lot of months of unrest. And the theme of that retreat was togetherness and dialogue. And we had invited members of the chancellery and the student leaders who were about to come into USS and those who were also there before to redefine the purpose of our organization and our commitment as student leaders. It certainly built a lot of momentum for us to enter into what I called a new era. We hosted also a welcome event that had not happened in a long time, and the whole idea was for people to reconnect and understand that in order to represent our constituency well, we had to work together. Later on, the first student leadership symposium that we did in collaboration with the Office of Student Affairs invited a couple of elected officials to speak to students about the idea of leadership. These students were just elected in their student governments or were running a campaign. Of course, USAID cannot be partisan, but we are there to teach. We are there to talk about leadership and show to these students things that they may not necessarily be learning on their campuses, like what it means to receive student activity fees, our real responsibilities as students, and the supports that are available for these students that decide to put themselves on the field and on the spot to help and assist others. And later on, USS has started its legislative season. Part of our work is not only to deal with CUNY's internal affairs and advise and participate in that governance, but it's also to be sure that we represent our students and CUNY's interest from the student perspective at the state level and at the city level. USS has this transition of every year organizing an annual March in March for higher education in partnership with other organizations like NIPERG. In 2023, we did our first very successful March in March in about 3 to 4 years. In terms of city advocacy, we did a lot of testimonies at City Hall talking about the student experience on mental health, recently on voting awareness. Later, I will talk about Metro cards, why it's important for our city government to consider and understand that CUNY should be a priority when they're disbursing a budget, because although higher education is a choice, it is a choice that benefits our greater city and by extension our great nation. And we do not only stop at New York City, we also invest a lot of our time and energy in Albany to speak to our state legislator to give voice to the priorities that CUNY has and the priorities that the students have in order to make sure that, again, we are represented well. Now, you may be wondering, what are these students talking about in all these places that they're going? Well, this is what we're talking about. This is an example of what our legislative priorities look like. The thing I love about USS is I always tell people nobody can tell us what to do. We really make the decision on what we want to give our voice to. And this is an example of what we did this year, decided to give voice to a couple of CUNY issues. We have been huge advocates for the New Deal for CUNY along with others. And this year we decided to put a special focus on a fight for free Metro cards, which you may have heard about. We went out to Albany and in the city telling people, hey, USS has been at the origin of a lot of great changes, like the 3-year tuition freeze. That's a given. We will always say no tuition increase. We will always be behind initiatives that directly impact students, but we decided to narrow our focus down to something that benefits students now and immediately. So we went out and all of our efforts this year were focused primarily on the advocacy for free Metro cards. As part of our work, we've met roadblocks where we were asked, how much money do you exactly need and who are you asking this money for? The responses were asking the money for all students, but we're willing to be on the table to have a conversation. So we narrowed it down into these different student populations that have an office that they can be traced to in CUNY. I'd like to thank the university for including the specific part on free Metro card for student parents on the city budget as this year, which was very instrumental for us because we always say that was an acknowledgement for CUNY that this is a need. And further the line, we would like to see the MTA, CUNY, and the city come together to try to form a partnership to figure out how this is going to work, because it is possible. And we have raised a lot of awareness on it, and we know that the elected officials are very interested in this. As part of advocating for free Metro cards now and initiatives that we did specifically, we went on March in March. This year was my second March in March organized, and as you can see on our flyer, it was primarily Metro cards. This is an issue that really galvanized students. We started a survey, and in less than 3 days, we had about 7,000 students express interest and tell us their story on why they need free Metro cards, tell us how much money they spend on Metro cards, tell us that they jump turnstiles, and a lot of other things that we know are not good for the city and are not good for the students. So it was huge for us. We also are one of the primarily co-sponsors for Higher Education Action Day, where every year we sponsor buses for students to go up to Albany for a full day of advocacy. NIPERC spearheads this initiative, and we've also participated in Student Empowerment Day, where we went to support CCSD, the CUNY Coalition for Students with Disabilities, on celebrating the rights and advocating for the rights of our students with disabilities. This was a picture of us in the office of, and in one of the conference room for Andrea Stewart Cousins, where we spoke about free Metro cards, and we have a lot of other students, some are not even CUNY, speaking about their own student priorities. And again, caucus and SOMOS in Albany. This was 2024. Again, free Metro cards. We spoke to a lot of elected officials, and the same message, we spoke with one voice. And on this conversation with one voice, you may wonder, how do these people who spent a lot of time arguing with each other end up coming together and deciding this is the one thing we will be doing? Well, this is the purpose of these retreats that I keep talking about. The 2023 annual USS retreat was based on the power of one voice. The name of the retreat itself was Legacy, to make the students of the University Student Senate understand that they were walking on the footsteps of giants and that they were elected to serve. That this was not something that was, it's a gift, but with great power comes great responsibility. Understanding how to communicate our ideas, and also understanding that yes, we are from 25 different campuses that have different needs, but we have to go in there, say, this is what we're doing as a USS, and in my local campus or in my district or as a student, this is what I am experiencing. And it worked, because today everybody is talking about our free Metro card initiative. The power of one voice was the theme now of this 2024 annual USS retreat, where it was introduced in 2023, applied this entire year, and then solidified at this last retreat that I organized last month. And the goal was this time not only to introduce an idea, but to show results. Because the students in USS last year have shown what the results can be when we work together, when we speak with one voice, and when we put our differences aside to represent our students in the right way. This was an amazing retreat, and I would like to use this time also to thank everybody for the past 3 years who have always responded present when I have organized retreats, and even those who couldn't come this year, Trustee Arvanites, I know you've been very supportive the times that you could be there. Vice Chancellor Maybank, Ian, everyone, thank you so much.
Sorry, not sorry.
You were in Greece, that was more important, but yeah. So, and at these retreats, we do not only talk about legislation and advocacy, we also learn about the university, the way the university works, because even if you consider that you are in a fight, you have to understand the person in front of you. That's the principle. So we understand it, we know how to work through it, and then we go in to apply the principles of shared governance, which is what CUNY is based on. A part of our work also, as you've been seeing, sharing our story for free Metro cards, which was the survey that we gave, sponsoring Higher Education Action Day. Every year it happens. We also use our money to co-sponsor events. This year we co-sponsored the TEDx CUNY event, which was great. We also support CCSD every opportunity that we get. And some other departments don't necessarily receive money from us, but they always reach out, oh, we're doing this really good thing, this really good event, and we would love for USS to participate. And that's why I would like to highlight the inclusive and adaptive sports at CUNY. CUNY. Ryan Martin has been really great in this collaboration, introducing us to the work that he does, and a big chunk of our budget also goes to CUNY athletics. And also voter awareness. We cannot be so civically engaged and not invite others to be civically engaged, and this starts with exercising their rights to vote. So when we get invited by CUNY TV to come speak about this and that and share our perspective on what we think students should be doing or what we think about misinformation or disinformation, we respond present because students need to hear from their own. This year we've organized multiple different watch party events for the different presidential debates and other things that are happening. This year we've also participated in We've participated in the Somos Model Senate, which was a great experience. We had a lot of USS members participate. We didn't talk to each other. We just found out that all of us who applied from USS got in, and it was amazing. And you've heard about one of our proudest achievements, which was CUNY changing the academic year to adopt the Eid holidays, Diwali and Lunar New Year as new holidays. Which is starting next year. Our work also goes with a lot of eyes looking. I wanted to highlight student newspapers that also cover us. The Vanguard from Brooklyn College covers us a lot, even to say that we have finally appointed a USS chair. It's a fun one. Or there are sometimes CUNY does it, and there is this article that I really like from the Chancellor adding civic mobility to CUNY's social mobility cred. And recently, everywhere I've said, while CUNY is a known and proven engine of social mobility, USS is the proved engine of civic mobility. And I'm always really proud to say that. We've been on City and State. I haven't been the only chair to be featured on City and State. There are USS chairpersons before me who did that. And this visibility for us is also visibility for the students to know what we're doing with the resources that they're giving us, and also giving power and voice to what we decide to advocate for. What's going on right now in USS? It is this new podcast that I'm doing called The Road to Free Metro Cards, The Power of One Voice, which tells the story on how the University Student Senate came up with the conclusion that we needed to advocate for free Metro Card, what the process was for us, and what we would like to see from our elected leaders and from CUNY in regards to this campaign. So far, we've introduced students from the City College of New York, from York College. Next up, we're hoping to go to Hunter College and to different campuses to speak to the students directly. Even those who receive ASAP are telling us, although we receive ASAP, we realize that our success is contingent to our neighbor's success. We need ASAP to be extended, or we need all of our students to get free Metro cards. Some are saying you're not even asking for the full package because the LIRR is also something that we need. We're talking about the Metro North, so you may hear more in the future. And it was important for me to include these pictures here of the USS plenary over the years. These are all different personalities, different people, individuals, different stories that I have encountered, good, bad, and ugly. But I'm grateful for all of them. And I called on all of you to keep supporting USS or to give your interest to this organization, because these are student leaders who really care. They really want to make change, and all they need is an ear to listen and resources to be able to operate as regular students, but also as student leaders. Thank you.
Let me just say, I've attended almost every one of these events, and if you, as a trustee or as somebody who is involved in CUNY, ever need your battery recharged, go hang out with the USS at their plenary session or at their summer retreat or at one of their marches, and you will be recharged and understand why you do all the work that you do. As far as the work you do, thank you very much. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve alongside you on the Board of Trustees. And I think I told you this before, but I was president of Cortland State Student Senate, and you never, once you're a student leader, you never really leave, so. They don't let you, and we won't let you either. But thank you for that report. I think it's very important. Are there any other comments or questions by the committee? Seeing none, I'd like to move on to item 2B, presentation on mental health and wellness services. Call once again on Vice Chancellor Denise Maybank and University Director Ryan Comrie to provide any information on this item. Apologies if I mispronounced it. Try having Arvanites as the last name.
Thank you, Chairperson Arvanites. You know, given the challenges and the pressures that our students face at any given time, mental health services become critical for our students based on just daily living and being at a point in life when you hit speed bumps. And that's the way I talk about them. It's not that you have to be broken in some way and everything has to be falling apart, but you hit a speed bump in life while you're trying to get a degree, and life doesn't stop for you to get a degree. And so sometimes you need that support, you need that help, and you need that hope. And so today, we have the benefit of having our University Director for Health and Wellness, Ryan Kammeyer, who has joined us and will offer us a presentation on the mental health status of college students generally and the specific services that we offer through CUNY. So I'll turn it over to Ryan, and he will be followed by one of our students. And Samantha, I don't know if you want to just come, you can come and sit. So Samantha Ventura is a senior student at Bronx Community College studying early childhood education. And she also is a member of USS. I mean, they just take over, they're everywhere. And so we're glad to have her, and I've had the opportunity to interact with her, and so I'm sure she'll offer you great information regarding destigmatizing mental health and promoting the services for CUNY students. So, Ryan, let's start with you.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm Ryan Kammeyer, and don't worry about my name. I don't think anyone ever gets it right, so no worries at all. And I want to thank Vice Chancellor Maybank for the introduction and for the opportunity to speak here today about mental health at CUNY. And I called this Mental Health at CUNY, but I would like to start with some of the information about mental health in college populations that is in the news that people are seeing. These headlines: colleges and universities are the front lines of mental health support. Mental health struggles are driving more college students to consider dropping out. The mental health crisis on college campuses, a very ominous headline there. I think that there's a general knowledge of that there's a definite need for mental health support services on college campuses at this point. The general state of college mental health, this is from the Healthy Mind Study, which is a national survey that's conducted across college counseling centers. Just some very fast statistics. There won't be a quiz, I promise, but 38% of students report moderate or severe depression, 34% report moderate or severe anxiety, 13% report suicidal ideation in the past year, and 41% report perceived public stigma of receiving mental health treatment, which that last one I think is probably the most important, because even if the numbers of students experiencing this may look low, there's a lot of people who don't seek treatment as a result of that last one. Academic impairment, I wanted to highlight this one in particular from the Healthy Mind Study, is that the amount of academic impairment that comes with mental health or mental difficulties or emotional difficulties is significant, with 21% reporting 6 or more days during the past 4 weeks that they have felt that. A couple more statistics: 22% of students report financial reasons for not seeking care. 24% students report a lack of time. 14% of students report not being sure where to go, and 9% report difficulty finding an appointment. Why are these important? Because if you look at the support systems in the community, they're often very difficult to access. They are often very expensive, particularly if there's non-insurance coverage. A lot of our students are uninsured or underinsured, which is why we think it's important for students to be able to find these services right here at CUNY on their campus, where they spend if not the majority of their time, a lot of time. Here are just some of the statistics from a CUNY-specific survey. This is campus-specific, so I can't say this is everyone at CUNY, but I would like to report these out. 87% of students at one particular campus said their academic performance was hurt by emotional or mental difficulties. 36% of students who utilize mental health services on campus express suicidal ideation, and 83% of students seeking on-campus services report a history of trauma. The level of trauma that's been experienced by our students, particularly during COVID-19 and in the aftermath, is remarkable, and it's something that we will be dealing with for years to come, and not just the pandemic is over, back to normal, because there is no back to normal in the way we had been before. So what can we do about it? Well, here at CUNY, I'm proud to represent the 25 counseling centers across our campuses. We have about 100 counseling center clinicians. We see about 30,000 students annually with over 100,000 services provided. So there is a lot that is going on in our campuses in terms of mental health work. We offer the usual suspects in terms of mental health support, individual therapy, group counseling, crisis management. We have workshops, screening events, tabling. A lot of our mental health work and counselors across our campuses do not always sit face-to-face with one student. They're out in the community. They're doing workshops. They're trying to present, particularly to faculty who need support in how to help their students or where to send them, et cetera. So they really are out doing remarkable work. We have a ton of initiatives that fall outside of the traditional therapy space, which is we offer teletherapy since COVID forced everything sort of into teletherapy, but we've continued that because we realize that some students really have a positive experience with that. Practice with mindfulness, yoga, medication management, training programs. We have a whole cadre of students who come in
Be able to include the Board of Trustees under these programs.
Yes, I can certainly do that at any moment. We have wonderful CUNY students that come into our training programs as well to actually train and serve their fellow students, and it's a really remarkable experience for everyone involved. We have a lot of partners, both foundational partners like the JED Foundation and the Steve Fund, who've done some remarkable work and events with us. We also have some online and support services that we have partnerships with Crisis Text Line, Together All, 10-Minute Mind for mindfulness, eCheckup to Go is a substance abuse screening. So we really focus on the on-campus and teletherapy services that our counselors are doing, but a lot of these services when there's that 3 o'clock in the morning problem and people need to access support in other ways. So I wanted to provide a couple of testimonials. These are publicly available, and students gave permission to put these, but this is based on a survey. 99% of clients experienced a beneficial change in their lives due to therapy at the counseling center. 98% of clients were satisfied with their therapy. There's a lot of positivity that people are saying about their work with the counseling center. I'm very much grateful to the counseling center. Centers help me beyond words. Your dedication to the well-being and success of students is truly inspiring. I was in a place of darkness where I felt as if there's nothing left for me to do. However, now I can see the light. It's a really powerful statement from one of our students about what the counseling centers have done in their mental health work. So the future of CUNY mental health. I've told you a little bit about what we do. What does the future look like? We are enormously grateful for the support that is provided by Vice Chancellor Maybank, the tireless advocacy of the Board of Trustees and those who advocate for mental health services at the state and city level. We are also enormously grateful to those that provide funding, as Vice Chancellor Maybank opened our session today with. We get funding that allows us to do all of these things. There are still things that we could do that we are not able to do. So we are always looking for more funding, more support, more advocates. And we have new opportunities that we'd like to open up. So that's I wanted to just highlight a couple of those that we'd like to do more training opportunities, bring more prescribing practitioners, and hire more clinical staff. We always say there's, the funds that we receive from the city and state are remarkable, but we can always do more if we have more. So. The future of CUNY mental health, just wanted to add, there are a couple positive developments in some of the research that's happening nationally right now from the CDC and the Healthy Mind Study, that the tireless work that's been done in the post-COVID era, we should say, has been really helping. A lot of the students are reporting things are improving in their mental health and in their scholastic academic work, rather. But there's a lot more to be done. Just because things are improving to levels that looked like before COVID doesn't mean that we can stop. It just means we have to ramp up more to get people where they need to be. This is my contact information. I'm always happy to answer any questions, and I will turn it back to you, Vice Chancellor, or I will turn it to, unless there are any questions directly from me, please.
Yeah, Douglas Medina, Gutman Community College faculty representative. Thank you for the presentation and the statistics. Unfortunately, the statistics don't surprise me. As someone who's in the classroom, I see it in the classroom and outside of it. I'm curious, before going to Gutman, I was at Baruch and I implemented mental health first aid. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yep.
I'm wondering if that's one of the initiatives and partnerships that you were looking into, because it is an international renowned and recognized program. It's very effective. So I'm wondering if that's something you consider.
Yeah, absolutely. We had in the previous administration with the city, we had a lot of connection with the mental health first aid, because they initiated it during the Thrive NYC program,
right.
and we have tried to do it slightly independently, because it's not part of the, obviously Thrive is has been folded into other programs. So we are working with our partners with the city to be able to provide the Thrive, the mental health first aid programming, and we also are working with other opportunities to do that same level of. They call it gatekeeper training sometimes, about just making people aware of the fact of how to respond to people that are having mental health issues, and what resources are available. There's a few more. There's QPR. There's other things that we're working on. But I agree, it's a wonderful thing that we need to continue to do, because while these statistics are here and people may know how to get to the counseling center, that a faculty member or an adjunct who maybe only comes in once a week might not know the level of detail. So it's helpful to have those kind of trainings.
Yeah, I'm a trainer, so I'll be happy to work with you if you need help.
Wonderful. I will take you up on that offer.
Your presentation mentioned 30,000 students are receiving assistance in some way, shape, or form. So that's 13% of our student body, and then your statistics said 22% would get help if they could access it. Is there any way we could bridge that 9% gap? Would it be more clinicians? Is there more space that's required? What is the silver bullet, and if that's the proper term, to help you get there?
Well, how much time do you have? No, I would say yes. I mean, I think the things that the counseling directors are always talking about is the need for more clinicians. There is a lot of the advocacy work, and I'm sure Samantha will take some of this off my shoulders to say, but what we need is more clinicians. We can always use more. The space is always an issue. Obviously, that's always a thing. More resources.
It's got to be private space, right? That would be under HIPAA laws and that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we would want to see private spaces for the more clinicians to happen. But also, I think that there's these adjunctive resources that can also be very helpful that we're trying to. Crisis text line, for example, is you can text and get a response from a trained crisis counselor immediately. So that doesn't take space, but the resources are always helpful for us in terms of expanding the workforce and helping to train more people to do the work.
Any other questions? Vice Chancellor Maybank, do you want to introduce the student? I apologize, I didn't see your hand.
Yeah, so thank you for this. Just a couple of questions. I recall it was 48% perceived stigma with seeking treatment, but then on the reasons why you don't seek treatment, that did not rise to the top, is it that people sort of understand that or students understand that as a societal thing, but it's not actually acting as an important barrier to seeking treatment? It seemed like the finances was actually the thing was, I just noticed it was sort of absent from the why you don't seek care.
Right. I will say that the why you don't seek care question had about 20 responses after it, so stigma was in there as
Okay.
one of them. I pulled out the ones that were highlighted the most. I don't exactly know what the conclusion of that is. I suspect it's related to this being a national survey, and there is some of the work being done is about destigmatizing mental health around the country, and a lot of advocacy organizations are working on that, particularly the JED Foundation, the Steve Foundation especially, about working with young people of color especially around that issue, destigmatizing campus, making it a friendlier place for the mental health, not only the mental health service needs, but also what can we do as a campus to make this a mental health friendlier place. So I suspect that's part of it. But it's a great question that I will think about more.
And it's just, oh, sorry, no.
I just wanted to add something to that. And I was going to use it in my closing, but you preempt that. I'm sorry. It's like, there's a recent article that talked about the fact that we have to stop talking about a mental health crisis because it is turning people away.
Okay.
It's causing people to say, I can't go because there's not enough for me.
Right.
And so people are sitting back.
No, that's important. And I guess my other question is, I was fascinated and impressed by sort of the array of sort of, as you described, outside of traditional, although I think some of the accumulation of data is actually very positive around things like mindfulness and some of the yoga. What kind of support do you need to expand that array as a preventive strategy, not necessarily a therapeutic strategy?
Yeah, I think we work. Our resources come from obviously public and private sources. The yoga we had it was a large grant that a yoga program was provided to us. The state funding we get is divided between hiring for clinicians essentially, but also helping for professional development with our staff, and then these additional resources. So I think that we try to assess with the funds that we're given each year where we can funnel the funds in order to make these things happen. And I think it's a great question, because I think the more proactive we can be at these mental health solutions, the better we'll be, rather than dealing with crisis after crisis.
And I'm just wondering if there are some private foundations that might be interested in funding demonstration projects around some of these, specifically framed as prevention.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. And we have been involved in a number of outside funders who have approached us in that way. The JED Foundation we're working with currently, for example, on several of our campuses is all about prevention. They do an assessment and provide what we can do in order to prevent mental health crises from happening.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Vice Chancellor, would you like to introduce
I'm just going to turn it over to Samantha, and she'll let you know more, but Bronx Community College is in the house, so Samantha.
There are approximately 10 billion people on this earth with us right now. Somehow, in some way, we are here together. The statistics are alarming. We are losing people. There are so many people out there that need our help. They're suffering from things out of their control, but we have the control to help them. These are young Americans who want to be veterinarians, who want to be engineers, they want to be scientists, they want to get out of the yuck they're in. When you think of the Bronx, you think of violence and poverty and drug use, and that's all true. People born there, they don't have a choice. What they can choose is to do better. And what we can do is to help them to do that. My school have programs like Get Psyched. It's led by one of our school counselors. It's called Get Psyched. They go to class, they share resources and ways that they can help themselves. I'm here to urge you guys to increase the investment into programs like that, into the CARES program into the Office of Personal Counseling. I want to address an issue. We have something called Spark Training. We do this every semester. It would be great if we could do something similar, but with mental health. This way, when students are accepted into college, we could vet them out, we could offer services, we could place them with personal counselors, group counseling. We could urge them to seek counseling outside of campuses. These are all things that we can control, and I really hope you guys act on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. While in higher education, plagiarism is bad, we do steal ideas from people and try to run with them. It's called best practices, so maybe we can steal that good idea. What you have there is called a good idea for the Spark training. Thank you for speaking to us. I appreciate that. This is always my favorite part when the students come in and tell us what they need. Any questions?
I just wanted to say, here, as a native Bronxite, little girl from the Bronx, our challenging borough, but much beloved.
Yes.
When I think of the Bronx, I think of the Yankees. But
When I think of the Bronx, I think of Oasters and I think of heaven. It's a beautiful, hopeful place. And that's what CUNY community colleges do.
I think of hope.
That's it. That's the word.
there you go.
Exactly.
See, and I didn't pay her for that, but that's that is my closing quote for tonight. I just want you to know.
Vice Chancellor Maybank for the beautiful segue.
So we want to be certain that CUNY students are provided with a reasonable standard of services that support them, so that it's not a matter of are you at this campus or are you at that campus, but we are able to assure that their mental health support services are at a level, at least at a minimal level of support that we can say is uniform. And there's plenty of despair that is available and that is used to get people to not do things, and that was where I was going to say, because I read this article and it was just amazing. It says we've got to stop making it a crisis and make it an important need. And so I talk about essential needs, and this is an essential need for many of our students. And so my quote this evening from Raymond Williams is, "To be truly radical is to make hope possible rather than despair convincing." And so we want to be about hope, and that may take some radical effort, but we're ready for it.
Excellent.
I was wondering when the poetry was going
It's always poetry.
You all set it up for me.
I've always been told you campaign in poetry and govern in prose, but
No, I have to say, I send a poem to my campus every week from different topics, different nationalities, different, poets that speak to what we're going through.
Yeah.
And it's really well received. I get a lot of comments about that. And I think it's another way of communicating. And poetry sort of lets your heart and your brain come together. And I think she does that well. You should have seen her at commencement at Ostos. She was superb.
Thank you.
Superb.
with no more items on the agenda, I'd like to move to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any abstention? Thank you very much.
Thank you.